and welcome to Victoria and Coimbatore, Building New Partnerships for the Future. I'm Petula Thomas, CEO of the Indo-Australian Chamber of Commerce, which is the only bilateral chamber of commerce in India that facilitates trade and investment between India and Australia. So on behalf of the Victorian Government Trade and Investment Office, South Asia, Global Victoria, who's a corporate patron and lifetime member of the Chamber, and our partners for this virtual event, CII and Guidance Tamil Nadu, I'd like to thank you for joining us in this session. A few housekeeping points. In order to reduce background noise, all microphones will be muted. Also, please note that this session is being recorded. We'll have a Q&A session towards the end, so do type your questions in the box and I'll try and have the speakers answer them for you. We'll now start off with the opening remarks. And for that, I'd like to invite Dr. K. Senthil Ganesh, Vice Chairman, CII Coimbatore Zone, and Managing Trustee, RVS Group of Institutions. Over to you, Dr. Ganesh, to make your opening remarks. If you could just, I think you're on mute.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Petula. Ms. Michelle Wade, Commissioner, South Asia, State Government of Victoria, Australia. Ms. Petula Thomas, CEO, Indo-Australian Chamber of Commerce. Ms. Raji Iyer, Co-founder and COO, Apparition. Ms. Vikram Kirti, Mr. Vikram Kirti, Associate Vice President, Guidance Tamil Nadu. Friends from the industry, stakeholders from the region, a very good evening to all. I take this opportunity to welcome all of you to this virtual interaction on Victoria and Coimbatore, building new partnerships for the future. First of all, I would like to thank the Victorian Government Trade and Investment Office for embarking on this initiative of interacting with industry members from various Tier 2 cities in India to explore mutual opportunities for investment and growth. As we all know, relationship between India and Australia is underwritten by a deep understanding of mutual respect, cutting across all political, economic, and social spheres. The state of Victoria and Australia in particular has a special place in India's popular imagination and is a favored destination for Indian students as well as social and business entrepreneurs from the country. I believe that several advancements and maturity levels showcased by the state of Victoria in key sectors including science and technology, health, sports, engineering, and skill development will certainly provide an opportunity for the industry members at Coimbatore to explore mutual synergies and engage in capitalizing these opportunities. Coming back to Coimbatore, as you all know, the city of Coimbatore is one of the fastest growing Tier 2 cities in India and is a major hub for manufacturing and textiles. Coimbatore and its surrounding districts have a major manufacturing base with exports to significant global destinations. Coimbatore is selected as one of the focus cities in the state government's vision in promoting investments towards infrastructure development, industrial and economic development. There are many factors which have contributed to do business at Coimbatore, mainly the innovation and entrepreneurship spirit in this region, which has made us what we are today. Now, we are witnessing emergence of new sectors like electronics, healthcare, technology, and other digital technologies. Coimbatore is a multicultural city that stands as an example for a harmonious living society. Overall, the city is a living ecosystem of its people taking charge. Today, it is also a place rated highly in India to live and to invest. Coming back to CII's role in promoting and strengthening bilateral relationships, I wish to state that CII maintains a very strong networking relationship with Australia and diverse organizations, agencies, and individuals. CII has brought and hosted numerous sector-specific delegations from both the countries in multiple sectors over the years. CII at Coimbatore also plays an active role in the development of this region, and with a strength of close to 300 industry members, is one of the largest zones in the southern part of India. In alignment with manufacturing industry of the region, CII organizes several stakeholder meetings focusing on the sectors of foundry, pumps, textiles, valves, and precision engineering. CII Coimbatore also plays an anchoring role in providing leadership to all the development activities organized in adjoining districts of Tirupur, Erode, and Salem. With these brief remarks, I believe that today's session and the deliberations would certainly prove very beneficial to the industry members of Coimbatore who are present here. I would now like to invite Ms. Petula Thomas, CEO, Indo-Australian Chamber of Commerce, to take the session forward. Over to you, Petula.
Thanks so much, Dr. Senthil Ganesh, and we're really looking forward to CII's support. I think not just in these webinars, but also, when we do have companies and governments such as Global Victoria and others coming to Coimbatore in person. So looking forward to working with you and the team on that. Just to, I think, set a bit more in the context of the bilateral relationship. This is one of the most promising and exciting times for the bilateral economic partnership. Just for those who are attending and the companies who might not be aware, on 2nd of April, India and Australia signed an interim economic cooperation and trade agreement, the ECTA, and we're told that discussions on the CECA, that's the Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement, should be concluded by the end of this year. So there's much to look forward to, and this trade deal is expected to give a big push, almost doubling trade in goods from the current $27 billion to $50 billion in 5 years. That's what they're looking at. And soon after that, the Australian government launched the update on its India economic strategy. That was again in April. Now, this is a 5-year action plan for the Australian government that responds to the evolving opportunities for both the countries, changed global circumstances, and of course, key economic reforms in India. So there's energy, technology, science and innovation, space, and creative industries. They're some of the key focus sectors under that. Coming to this session, the Victorian government, that's Michelle Wade and her team, as many of you might know, have been doing an outstanding job of strategically supporting the relationship here in trade, investment, people-to-people links, partnerships. And if I've got my dates right, the Bengaluru office was established in 2005. So they've been here for a very long time and supporting the economic partnership between both the countries. So this initiative, scoping new opportunities and sharing remarkable success stories of collaboration emerging from geographies and ecosystems outside of the metros, is brilliant. I'm sure that many will take a cue from this, and we'll see many such ones happening. But and Coimbatore again is one of the most industrialized cities in Tamil Nadu. We'll hear more from that from Vikram. So I think there's multiple sectors for strengthening synergies. You'll hear a bit more to add on to what Dr. Senthil has said on the Coimbatore side from Vikram now, and then of course from Michelle Wade, who will talk about the Victorian government's capabilities and where we see areas for collaboration. And then of course there'll be case studies and Q&A. So with that, I think I'd like to welcome Vikram Kirti Jayakumar, who's the Associate Vice President, Guidance Tamil Nadu. Again, we work very closely with them. So really, really pleased to have you, Vikram. And if you could speak to us about Tamil Nadu.
Hey, thanks, Petula. Thanks for having me here. So it's great to meet all of you and talk a little bit about what Tamil Nadu has to offer in terms of the infrastructure and labor front, right? And one key element which I think Petula did mention is about the economic cooperation trade agreement, which was signed in April 2nd, 2022. This is going to be a big push for bilateral trade between India and Australia. So without taking too much of your time, I'll just walk you through a couple of slides so that it gives you a broad overview of where Tamil Nadu and Australia stand in terms of trade and what is the future. Yeah. So hope my screen is visible to the participants. Yes, great. So first of all, I will welcome all the audience here that Tamil Nadu is one of your ideal investment and industrial destination if you're looking to invest within India. And a bit about Guidance. Guidance is the nodal agency from the Department of Industries of the Government of Tamil Nadu. We facilitate investors and help them in land options, approvals, and aftercare. So these are the three things which guidance Tamil Nadu takes care of. This is the most important piece of information, I think, which Petula did touch upon. So the cooperative economic cooperation trade agreement, which was signed in 2022. So Australia and India both have them been trade partners, and the bilateral trade has been 27.5 billion in 2021. Post the cooperation trade agreement signed in 2022, Australia will have preferential market access to close to 70% of its tariff line in India, mainly raw materials and intermediaries such as coal, mineral ores, and wines. And India will also have preferential market access in Australia on 100% of its tariff line. And today, as we speak, 65% of the knitwear exported to Australia is from one single city in Tamil Nadu, which is Tirupur. And overall, close to 670 crores of worth of products has been exported from just one city in Tamil Nadu. So we expect that bilateral trade between Australia and India put together will exceed 50 billion in the next 5 years once the trade agreement has been officially signed. Now, moving on, I think I'll probably give you a brief overview. Some of the audience might already know what Tamil Nadu is all about, but yes, Tamil Nadu is second largest in terms of economy within India, and Tamil Nadu contributes the third highest in terms of exports. Tamil Nadu is one of the highest industrialized state in the country with the highest number of factories. And overall, the contribution from Tamil Nadu to national manufacturing stands at 11%. And we have good internet connectivity. We have 4 major ports, 22 non-major ports connecting all major trade hubs, handling 15% of the nation's cargo. Industrial infrastructure, we have close to 20,000 acres of land parcel available. This will give you a broad overview of the infrastructure availability in the state of Tamil Nadu, right? So we have 57 plus operational SEZs, and the state contributes 9.8% to India's GDP. And in terms of talent pool, Tamil Nadu has 33 of India's top 100 colleges as per NIRF rankings. And the state is more than 50% urbanized, and it is a power surplus state. And Tamil Nadu also has the 10th ranking in terms of renewable energy power generation globally, right? So this is where Tamil Nadu stands today in terms of infrastructure. Tamil Nadu has also been an attractive destination for Fortune 500 companies. You can see the logos there. I think almost every single company out there has put up their facility in the state of Tamil Nadu. So I think I touched upon this a bit, but yeah, we have 500, close to 6,000 kilometers of track across the state. In terms of roadways, 286 kilometers per lakh of population. It is higher than the national average. In terms of the commercial seaport, Tamil Nadu can handle 3 million 20 equivalent units. And being one of the most urbanized state, Tamil Nadu also has better infrastructure in terms of, I mean, not just Chennai as a city, but overall the state has more than 48% is urbanized within the state. So broadly, these are the sectoral strengths of Tamil Nadu. So automobile contributes 23%, apparel 33%, machinery 20% of overall India's production from the state. IT and ITES contributes 11%, electronics contributes close to 15%, and electric vehicles. I think all of us are dependent on fossil fuels, and Tamil Nadu has been a pioneer in terms of being one of the largest investment destination for electric vehicles in India. I'll just walk you a bit about the industrial policy. So today, as we speak, this is applicable for almost all sectors, with the minimum threshold starting from 50 crore investment up to 5,000 plus crores, right? So we broadly, the state has been classified into category A, category B, and category C districts. So depending on the location, the incentive is being offered for, and depending on the investment size and the employment generated in these districts. So some of the key incentives which are offered and subsidies offered as per the Tamil Nadu's industrial policy is land cost subsidy, stamp duty incentive, training subsidy, and quality certification incentive, green industry incentive. We facilitate and also incentivize manufacturing facilities who set up solar power farms within the facility. So we also incentivize them. There is 5% interest subvention for a period of 6 years. So again, that is to facilitate these companies who are raising debt to ground their investments. There is electricity tax incentive, and the government of Tamil Nadu also offers SGST refund on capital goods. So broadly, this is all about guidance. So we are the nodal agency for the government of Tamil Nadu. In fact, we have been awarded for one of the best investment promotion agencies in Asia. We look at industry approvals. We help companies for all necessary expansion in terms of support, single window clearance, and other services. So I think that's pretty much about what we do. And thanks for the opportunity. Looking forward for any queries post the session.
Thanks so much, Vikram. Very, very insightful. And I think that's good. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah. Seems to have frozen here. Okay, thanks very much for that. And I think with that, I'll hand over to Michelle Wade, the Commissioner to South Asia, State Government of Victoria, Australia. Michelle manages the Victorian Government operations and promotion of trade and investment across South Asia. She'll talk through the Victorian capabilities and opportunities. And I'm sure most of those who are attending are very keen to hear how you could collaborate with the Victorian government companies.
Great, thanks Petula, and it's wonderful to be here this afternoon. Thanks particularly to CII Coimbatore, Guidance Tamil Nadu, and our friends at Indo-Australian Chamber of Commerce. So Petula's mentioned who we are and what we do. Just because we're based in Bangalore, I don't want you to think that Tamil Nadu is not immensely important to us. In fact, one of my team members, Sri Kasturi, who's our investment director, grew up in Coimbatore and is frequently visiting there. And many of my team here actually speak Tamil also. It was great to hear from Dr. Senthil about those perceptions of Coimbatore in terms of its entrepreneurship and it being an investment hub. That is always the way it's been presented to me. And I'm really pleased that one of the first regional trips I made in India when I arrived here in December in 2017 was to Coimbatore. And it really has stuck in my mind for that. I'm really hoping that after this session, we'll get enough inquiries and enough interests that will come down and meet you face to face as well. I also want to mention from Victoria's perspective that we have had, prior to COVID, 2 of our ministers visit Tamil Nadu and visit Chennai. And in March 2019, we had our Minister for Trade, and in September 2019, we had our Minister for Small Business. So it really is an important state. And I thought that Vikram's presentation was fantastic. I also think, Vikram, your finance minister, who was just down in Melbourne on an invited visit, would have been very proud to see what you presented. And I'm extremely hopeful that we might have to put a challenge up for Best Investment Agency, and we might be trying to do to get that award off you if that covered all of Asia, Oceania, but congratulations on that. So we might go to the next slide now, Aditya. I just want to show people who might not be familiar with Victoria a little bit about what it is. So it's got a population of 6.6 million. So it's larger in economy size than Singapore or New Zealand. And in fact, the current economy size is very, very similar to what I'm reading is Tamil Nadu. It's predicted by population to be Australia's largest city, Melbourne is, by 2030. We constantly get awards for most livable city, the sporting capital, and we're also really proud that we have more people in the Indian diaspora living in Victoria than any other state of Australia. I thought it was really interesting looking particularly at Coimbatore's strengths, how many of them echo Victoria's strengths. So we're also a manufacturing hub, and particularly in advanced manufacturing and materials, but also in food processing, where Australia undoubtedly the medical and life sciences hub. So 40% of the ASX listed companies are based there. We've just got the rights to produce Moderna's mRNA vaccine. But also in terms of medical hubs, just so that you understand the context, we're pretty much ranked in the top 3 after Boston, London, and then Melbourne. That's not often known, but it's a very, very strong hub. Education and EdTech as well, by far Australia's leader in this, and I'm sure so many of you know Australia as an education destination, but also as an EdTech hub. We've got 10 major universities. Pretty much all of those, with the exception of one, has just continued to move up the rankings, up the Times rankings. And I think we have 4 or 5 of those 10 universities in the top 100. So really high quality education. We dominate the Indian student market. We have double the number of students of New South Wales, and we've got some great unicorns also in recruitment tech is emerging. We're a retail and logistics hub, horticulture and food processing. I'll be talking about that later. And we also have other major based corporate headquarters. So companies like Australia Post, ANZ Bank, Telstra, Toll Holdings, Linfox, and many of these you're going to see in another slide of companies that are operating here. So I'm not going to talk too much on geopolitical because I think we covered that off a little bit. But I just want to mention to you, we've just had a change of government. I think, when I was reflecting on what Vikram was saying about e-vehicles and the like, we will see a much more climate-friendly government and a lot more happening in renewables. We've already seen that in the last month. We've got our Defence Minister, Deputy Prime Minister in India today. He's in Goa. That's a sign of just how important the Indian relationship is. And I think from those of you who are working in defence sector, that we will see more growth in that coming out of the Quad. Petula's talked a little bit about the free trade agreement, so I won't talk too much on that. I do want to talk about the pandemic because we feel that the pandemic for India has had a really positive outcome on potential business for us. Firstly, it made the airlines stop for a while and realize just how important Australia is. So we've started to see more direct flights from the north, but we'll eventually get those in the south as well. But it also grew industries that are really important to us, like education and EdTech, gaming, games and gaming. It grew those also, and now we're just starting to see a return to major events. And some of our good recent successes are Swiss Multivitamins, Rubicon Water that delivered an 800-kilometre complex irrigation project in Karnataka, and E2 Learning, which is one of our EdTech companies. So next slide, Aditya. This is, I reckon this slide has at least doubled in the time that I've been in India. And these are all companies who have a significant number of employees here. I'm going to talk about them more specifically in their relationship with, so they're not just selling here, they've actually got registered offices and staff, but I'll talk more specifically about some of those with Tamil Nadu across a couple of slides. So we'll go to the next slide, Aditya. So IDP, you would know it, it's a leading education agent. What's more interesting is they've just opened up their tech center for India in Chennai, and it's about 500 seats, and it's incredibly impressive. WT Partnership is a cost constructions estimator, and their head office is in Chennai. With what you're talking about, fabric and textile industry, one of our leading department store chains, Kmart Australia, is quite separate to Kmart US, although it's the same brand, it spun off some time ago. Hugely popular in Australia, and many of their textile contracts are in Coimbatore. One of our new arrivals is Australian Turntables. They have developed process where you drive your car, you can drive your car or your heavy vehicle onto like what's like a record player, and it will spin it around and spit it out the other way. So for sort of, it works in tight parking situations in luxury apartments. It also works in industrial complexes. They're headquartered in Tamil Nadu. Now, AGRIBUSINESS, I'm sorry for this, guys. Any one of you who has ever got a speed ticket on the highway in Tamil Nadu, it's because of this company from Victoria. So they do all of the speed monitoring. So the next time you get a speeding ticket, you can thank us for it. I will say I'm very proud of that, actually. I was with another state recently, and they said to us, we asked them about road safety, and they said, oh, we would love to be able to do what Tamil Nadu's done. And we said, oh, how interesting. Most of what Tamil Nadu has done in road safety has been driven through Victoria, our academic institutions and some of our technology companies. Ramco's got a good development centre in Melbourne and doing some leading work with our IT graduates. And of course, Apparition, and you're going to hear from Raji after this, as one of our business cases. So I reckon I could talk to you guys about agribusiness, and I could tell you all of these great statistics that we have 77%, almost 80% of the Australian exports of dairy, 60% of fruit, 51% of nuts, and prepared foods pretty much a third. But if I really want to paint a picture of Victoria, I just need to tell you it's where MasterChef is based and where MasterChef is filmed. And if ever there was an advertisement for Victoria and our love of good food, I think it's the MasterChef reputation. So we have a reputation here, and the reason we're such good suppliers of food, particularly into China, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East, is clean and green reputation for great food. And this is supported by good R&D. So if there's anyone here today working in the food industry, we're both interested to talk with you if you've got aspirations in Australia, because you would have seen those FTA benefits of how your exports are going to change. But also if you're interested to import raw materials, or if you want to become technology partner or learn about new work in those regards. Also, we've got some niche products and services. For example, at the moment, we've got some fabric treatments for the textile industry we're interested in finding a partner about. So when you come out of this presentation, do think about, I wonder if there's a way I could do business with Victoria. Is there an expertise that we are complementary? And we'd love you to reach out to our office. So the next one, Aditya, is EdTech. So I mentioned this is basically a spin-off from education. So a third of the Australian EdTech industry is based there, but 80% of the online program management. And we mentioned those 10 of the world's best universities, with 5 in the top 100. With, you know, and you guys know it well, with a good base, you get a good ecosystem. So we've got key industry organizations. We've already got a great number of EdTech companies since the work we've done over the last 3 years in India, and active also in Tamil Nadu. But notably, we've got about 20 more who want to enter. Now, those companies are looking for channel partners. They're looking for representatives to sort of distributors, as well as potentially pairing with educational institutions who might be looking at new learning methodologies and new programs. And the best way, I think, to know more about our EdTech is to go to DIDAC in Bangalore in September. And this little guy that I've got waving to you at the bottom of the screen, that's from Tali's learning system. To give you an idea, that's a learning system developed particularly to address the needs of children with autism. So, you know, we've got some really specialist products there, and I'd really encourage anyone in the education industry to take a look. So the next slide is livability and environment. I mentioned a little bit about roads before and the work that AGRIBUSINESS is doing. Sensen, which has its office in Tamil Nadu, is also doing work in this area. I mentioned Rubicon Water with its irrigation contract. But we've also got companies doing work on air and water quality. So Probac, that's based out of Mumbai, has a biological agent that will help remediate lakes and waterways. For example, it's a lovely product. ACOM, which is Ecotech, is a dominant player here in industry in India. Whilst it's not a well-known name, it actually does much of the air monitoring here in India. So when you get your air pollution indexes coming up, it's just as likely they're from this Victorian company, and also water quality. I mentioned renewables at the start, and I will say we've got growing capability in green hydrogen that's worth a look as well. So plenty to do in that area. The next slide, please. Now we want to talk about students and diaspora because it's such a wonderful pathway. You know, people and trade follow one another. But I thought there was no greater message to you guys than for students, for diaspora, and for visitors, Victoria is the first choice for Indians. So we mentioned that almost 40% of all Indian students in Australia reside in Victoria. We've got a particularly strong representation of postgraduate students from Tamil Nadu. So if I could ever say to you how good your reputation is, it's that we're lucky enough, I think, to host the highest quality students, particularly in engineering related disciplines, but many others. While I had to return to Australia for a good part of COVID, I led a program called International Student Emergency Relief Program, because I want to let you know that we care for those students. And that was the biggest single government support program of any government, including the Australian government. That was a welfare program that delivered to about 33,000 students who remained in Victoria during COVID. The diaspora, well, I mentioned, we're also the first choice. We're the home to the largest Indian community. Again, you guys might not want to know this, but it's an indication of how the professionalism and the sorts of earnings that the Indian community is making in Australia, how well integrated they are, that they're the second highest taxpayers in Australia after the UK. So none of us think paying tax is great, but it's an indication to us that the incomes of the Indian residents in Australia must be pretty high to be at that level. We host Australia's biggest Indian film festival, but I also want you to know that it's so well integrated as a community that everyone loves Indian films in Australia, and RRR recently debuted #2 in Australia, only after Batman. So, you know, you get movies now in the mainstream theatres. And migration is reopening now. So we've got 15,000 places this year under our Global Talent Visa program. And you can also, if you want to start a business in Victoria, there's other opportunities if you're seeking to reside there long term. We're first choice for visitors. So around 2018, we surpassed Sydney. We weren't sure if that was going to last, but it did. And the trend now with the airlines, with tourism agencies that we deal with, is that we won't trend below #1. And that's backed on having strong business, strong visiting friends and relatives, and tourism supported by major events, and also those increased air routes that I mentioned. And I just put up this little picture of these penguins because firstly, they gave me a lot of comfort. And what I love about visiting Victoria and even Melbourne is you can catch a tram from the CBD in the evening and go down to St Kilda Beach and walk out, you know, in the middle of a city of 5 million people and see this colony of like 3,000 penguins. And it's very, very beautiful. So that's the penguins looking back over the city of Melbourne. So forthcoming activities, I know, I'm sure you're all aware, we're hosting that little event, the finals for the T20 Men's World Cup on 13th of November, but we've also got that big India-Pakistan match on the 23rd of October to open the T20. So both of those are in Melbourne. My colleague Vijay will be leading mission with Melbourne International Games Week. And then up in India next week, we've got Citrus Australia representatives visiting, an indication that logistics is working out between Victoria and India, that people are much more prepared to send fresh produce than they were previously, as well as the benefits of the FTA. And then we mentioned DIDAC, and then we'll be doing return work with India Game Developers Conference up in Hyderabad in November. And as we mentioned, we're hoping out of this will come reason to be in Coimbatore. So just the last slide. I hope we've given you good business reasons to visit Melbourne, but don't forget, we've also got a big calendar of events: Motorcycle Grand Prix, T20, Australian Open, Melbourne International Comedy Festival, the Food and Wine Festival, because we mentioned, you know, if MasterChef can't say how much we love food, what does? The Australian Grand Prix. And then I've put up Vic 2026. We're hosting the 2026 Commonwealth Games, and that will be spread out through the regions of Victoria. So we're really looking forward to seeing one another in Coimbatore, but also hoping that you'll have a reason to visit Melbourne. So thank you very much. I've put this up because I hope these slides live beyond today's presentation. So also my colleague Vidya's name for you to make initial inquiries if you've got business inquiries today. So thank you.
Thanks very much, Michelle. That was absolutely amazing, and I think such a comprehensive presentation, which I'm sure was everyone here listening would agree that was tremendously insightful to companies on the emerging opportunities, the existing ones, and I think all the areas for cooperation and businesses working together. We will, of course, be also sharing the link, so those who want to have a look at it again or share it with other businesses, you'll be welcome to do that. I think, with that, setting the scene really nicely, it's always great to hear success stories. And, we have two of the companies here today. I'm equally excited to hear from them. So the first one is Raji Shivkumar Iyer, who's the co-founder and CEO of Apparition. So I think, Raji, we'll hear from you first before we move on to Anitra.
Sure. Thanks, Petula, and thanks, Michelle, for setting the scene, and Aditya, thanks for running the slides for me. And please bear with me, my voice might taper in and out, as with many people in Melbourne. I've got the cold and flu as well, and hopefully we'll survive through the winter without falling through again. A very good afternoon to everyone. And whilst Petula was talking about a success, I really think it's a journey, and we're just in the beginning of the journey. So by no stretch of imagination, we call ourselves being successful and things like that. But moving to Tamil Nadu has been really wonderful for us, and it's been great in kind of scaling the business, but also in growing the business from a IP and from a knowledge perspective as well. So I will talk through, Aditya, if you just wanted to just go to the next stage, next slide, please. So our vision is to build an inclusive future of work where we want to break the barriers to adopting immersive tech. So we are primarily an immersive tech company. We do solutions and for the enterprise for adopting XR, AR, VR, XR in field services, in training, in real estate. So there's a whole bevy of solutions that we do. For us, we want to make sure that no one's left behind, because immersive tech, AR, VR is really a media and medium, just like how the advent of internet and websites came into foray, and a lot of companies fell back and had lots of challenges adopting. So we want to bridge that gap and make adoption really faster. Throughout the presentation as well, you'll be seeing a lot of pictures. All of that's curated internally. They're either our staff or actually family of our staff. And that's really just to showcase who we are and what we do are really quite closely coupled together. Everything that we do is as a result of the people that we have on board that drives this vision and takes this vision and actually puts it out for us on a drawing board for us to implement it. So we're very thankful for the people that we have. Next one, Aditya. So here's a bit of a gist on what we do from a technical perspective and a product offering perspective. We have an open and flexible and composable platform for the enterprise to build XR solutions and tools. We also have bundled solutions ready for specific industry verticals to kind of take it and implement it easily. That's a little bit of a gist on what kind of products that we offer technically. Next one, Aditya. So we have a wide range of customer base globally. We do have quite a bit of customers all across India as well. We work with a number of customers in their innovation teams in the stealth mode, powering their innovation and also powering XR solutions that they're experimenting with. So we're really a company which was founded in Melbourne, but for all practical purposes, we are a global company from where our staff reside and where our solutions are being used and deployed as well. Next step, Aditya. But I just wanted to spend a bit more time on who we are. I was born in Trichy and I grew up in Chennai for most of my life, and I moved here to Australia. So I have a very symbiotic relationship with Tamil Nadu from the beginning. So for me, that's primarily what I still think of as home. So I'm always very happy to go back. A lot of what we do and our culture was founded by our values. For us, values are important. The reason for us, it really works well from a global presence is because we look at it as one team. We are one set of values, one team, and one world space for us. What does that really mean? It's because it doesn't matter where we are located. It doesn't matter where our staff are. We have the same set of guidelines. We operate as one business. It's not an India center. It's not as a Germany center. It's not a US center. It is Appurition as a whole, and that's what we do. Our key values are excellence. So it doesn't matter what we do. We need to have done it with the highest focus and highest quality, integrity. So, stick to your word and you have to do what you say and make a difference. Really, it's about looking at what you've done, what went wrong, and constantly innovating. But most importantly, to add value to the enterprise or to the ecosystem. And we look at everything we do as an ecosystem. So we need to be adding value to our staff, to our customers, to our vendors. So there's a whole value ecosystem that we want to build. And that's our fundamental principle on how we kind of planned and grew in Tamil Nadu as well. It doesn't matter where you're from and who you are. It really, what does matter to us is if you focus on what you want to achieve and make sure that you build a lot of value into it and there's high quality and you say what you do and you are you have no fear to kind of step out of your comfort zone and try new things, and you have no fear to fail, then you've got a spot in our team. And that's really what's driven us to what we are. A lot of what we've been doing and a lot of what we do is not really up for adoption for the next 5 years. So we really play in an emerging tech trend. And what that means is the readiness to fail, the readiness to hear when people say, nope, I don't want to use it. And also the ability to kind of go back to the drawing board and re-innovate. And those were some of the things that drove us when we were looking at expanding. Whether it's growing the market space in Tamil Nadu, whether it's about getting more customers, or whether it's about growing our team, we kind of look at these values from all the stakeholders that we want to be involved with as well. So we do look for these things when we engage with customer stakeholders. So if there isn't a value alignment, there really isn't a way that both of us can have a win-win situation. So we also have learned to say no during that process. For us, a lot of the work has always been remote. Even before COVID, we've had people come on board in Chennai that I hadn't even seen. So we'd recruited people remotely. They've been working remotely. Especially for us, the focus when we moved into India was looking at where is the best place where regional employment can grow as well as urban employment. For us, it needs to be about accessibility to those regional staff pool as well, and the regional pool of customers as well. And that's what really drove us to Tamil Nadu more than anything else. So we have staff who work from Salem, who work from Rajapalayam, who work from Vridhachalam, and they continue to work there. They started working there before COVID, they continue to work there. And for us, face-to-face is really a big event, but everyday job for us was always working remotely. Next slide, Aditya. So you would have thought the natural choice for me would have been Tamil Nadu because I was born there, brought up there. But before we actually moved in Chennai, we looked at multiple engagement models and working models all across India. And as I mentioned, for us, Tamil Nadu wasn't the most the first choice, but it became a fantastic choice after having failed in different centers across the country. We ended up in Chennai as our focus center in India, and also regional employment around Chennai. So when we looked at accessibility to this regional staff pool and also regional customers, it made a lot of sense to be in Tamil Nadu, because getting from Chennai to Salem or getting from Chennai to Rajapalayam and Vridhachalam was easy. And even for that staff to actually jump on a train and get a plane to actually visit customers all across India or outside India was much faster than some of the other centers we had trialed. So from our perspective, Tamil Nadu, although wasn't the obvious choice, is probably the best choice to what we wanted. It suits a purpose. It also means that finding people who are aligned to our values and aligned to what we want to achieve is quite rampant in Tamil Nadu as well. So I must say that it's been fantastic just speaking to graduates, speaking to people, speaking to a lot of game developers who want to kind of pivot into the enterprise. There's a whole diaspora of them who are fantastic at what they do, but also embrace our values and have no fear to actually try the enterprise way, which is very different to a normal game development way. So those are kind of transferable skills, which we found was very, very fantastic from a state perspective. The skill set and the pool of skills that we had access to as well was fantastic. So overall, I think that for our growth, we have centered around Tamil Nadu. We're very excited to be there, and we hope to be growing, and we hope to be a household name shortly in the next 5 to 7 years. So thank you very much, everybody, for listening in, and feel free to reach out and connect up with me on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much, Raji. That was really great listening to that, and I think also to understand what drives Apparition and what you're looking at in the long term, and to hear from you. So thanks very much for sharing that. And as you say, it's the journey. We'll hopefully get to hear from you again later on to see what else has been successful since this time. We now have Dr. Venki Balasubramanian, founder of Anidra Tech Ventures, who will give us their journey, their successes. And so Anidra is a group is an Indian-Australian consortium dedicated to the application of cutting-edge technologies to save lives in cost-effective ways. So really, really looking forward to learning about this and hearing from you. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Petula, and thanks everyone and we kept the best example at the last. So I'm sitting in my Coimbatore home and giving this talk, okay, and I came here for holidays for the last 4 weeks, and sorry, I couldn't able to share my slides, okay, but I can do it now. So Anidra is an innovative company, and it's a Fed Uni startup company, and it's based on my PhD work, which I completed way back in 2010. So what we do is basically we develop intelligent patient monitoring with the next generation notification. So I think Raji was saying is that she was born in Tamil Nadu and everything, and we did not try any of the other states. We started Coimbatore straight away because I had my home here, and it was an innovative product, okay, and we started the company in 2016. And it was, you can monitor all the vital signs of the patients, and it raises the alarms when the patient condition deteriorates. So myself and my colleague, Andrew Stennery, both of us are full-time researchers in computer science researchers in Federation University. And it was a Fed Uni startup company, as I mentioned before. So when we started, it was like an innovative, and it was pretty much new. And Tamil Nadu and not Tamil Nadu is basically Coimbatore started as a base. Without any excitement or something, we did our first trial way back in 2016 in Coimbatore Karpagam Medical College Hospitals, okay, where we were excited to see that the success of the prototype that we have developed way back in 2016. So right after that, okay, we, myself and Professor Andrew Stennery used to travel at least twice in a year, okay, to do quite a lot of clinical trials. One thing really surprised me, because we started the company in Coimbatore. It's a startup company, and it's we had a base in Victoria to do our R&D, but we had our subsidiary in Coimbatore. Only for the reason is Coimbatore is my home, And I know that Coimbatore is it's called Manchester of South India. No one mentioned it before my talk. It's called Manchester. One thing which no one mentioned is actually it's basically it's a birthplace of Formula One driving. Coimbatore is a birthplace of Formula One driving. Narayan Karthikeyan is from Coimbatore. So I didn't have a big, I really want to try this particular product. So it was basically, with a lot of anxiety, we started this particular company because we were not sure that it's a medical device. It's you deal with the people health directly, and it's based on some computer science algorithm, which may work, which may not work. So we were more than excitement. It was a fear factor when we started the trial way back here. We had our ethics cleared and everything, and we had a support from many hospitals in Coimbatore. I was surprised right after starting in 2016. They were almost like 165 hospitals are there in Coimbatore only, and with that 25 hospitals or multi-specialty hospitals with more than 2,000 beds. So we did all our trial, and all our algorithm was trained using our trial, and we had a big support from Victorian. We were a part of an accelerator program from La Trobe, and Cherisala is one of the director, and also Grant is also a mentor from the same accelerator program. So what we do is basically is our product. I don't want to do a very big because the time is limited. So I just want to say that we normally monitor the patients automatically and raise the alarm when the patient condition deteriorates based on our artificial intelligence alarm. So normally what happens is due to the lack of nurses and patient and nurse ratios mostly in India, they tend to oversee the vital signs that needs to be taken every 4 to 6 hours. So that misses an average of 70% of the patients. So our trial and report and with the market research shows that almost like 500,000 people die unnecessarily due to lack of monitoring. So that was our use case. So what we did is we created a device which can monitor automatically and raise an alarm, and we have our own device which is capable of monitoring all the 6 vital signs which they normally use it in the hospitals, and we send it to the cloud, and we have our own proprietary based, our IP based algorithm running on the cloud that raises the alarm to the clinicians, and it saves them millions of life. So we have we already did quite a lot of research on market size back in India as well as in Australia. In Australia, mostly it will be used in aged care sectors. That's where we are trying to do it in the Victoria in the next 6 months. We are also a part of the Wyndham City Council Spark Innovation Hub. So we are in the next 6 months, we are planning to establish a trial in the aged care sectors with the same product. So for me, everything was done in the Coimbatore. All the trial was done in the Coimbatore. The product was built. The product was mostly built in Victoria, and the testing and all the testing and trials were done in the Coimbatore. So the traction, we have 3 products. One of them is the remote patient monitoring. That's our flagship product. And the second one is the ambulance app, which we did for the Indian military. So I'll play the video by the end of this one. So we were able to reach the Indian military from Coimbatore. And third one is the home care, which we are working on right after the COVID, because right after the COVID, people knows about the remote patient monitoring and the telehealth more. And we are trying to launch another product which can be used in the home care. So this is what our traction so far. The company was established in Victoria in 2016. At the same time, we also established a subsidiary in Coimbatore. We registered the company in Coimbatore, and we almost sold almost like 500 devices as of now. So I'll just place, so we do the sales support and the marketing and testing. So most of the employees, if you're working, we have 6 to 7 employees are working or from Tamil Nadu and from Coimbatore, from Erode and from Tirupur. And we do our R&D back in Melbourne. So I'll play the video. So the one of the video, then I can conclude and we can, I can answer any questions if you have. Just for a minute. So we supplied the innovative monitoring kit for the Rakshita motorcycle ambulance for DRDO. So they are using our devices where the conventional ambulance cannot reach. They are using our monitoring kit to transport the Jawans at the
Anitra, with the assistance of Central Reserve Police Force, CRPF, and Defense Research and Development Organization, DRDO, under the Ministry of Defense, Government of India developed the Vital Signs Monitoring Kit for the two-wheeler Rakshita ambulance that can save millions of lives. CRPF and DRDO launched the specially developed Rakshita bike ambulance on 18 Jan 2021. The patient seat is on wheels and we can mobilize the patient and get it on the bike within a few seconds. The motorbikes will help to attend the security force personnel's urgent evacuation needs and can access remote and terrain areas where a conventional four-wheeler ambulance cannot reach. The paramedic rider can see the vital parameters on the move with the help of a tablet placed on the handlebar of the motorbike. The Anidra sensors sense the patient's vital parameters such as SpO2, heart rate, pulse rate, blood pressure, and respiratory rate in real time. It sends the same information to the paramedic driver's tablet. There is also an alarm functionality if the vital parameters of the patient are above or below the threshold limits. The driver can be notified, as programmed by the Anidra team.
All right, okay, with this, I'll conclude my case study, okay, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks very much, Dr. Balasubramanian. I think that was great. Us getting a 5-minute but extremely detailed insight into all the various products and technologies that you've used to save lives. We I think just had one question, but I think I understand Michelle's responded to that. So we are there any other questions? If there are, I think just type it in the box. But if not, I think what we'll do is we will definitely share the link to this as well as the presentations. And if we do have any questions for any of the speakers, as the organizers, we'll share that with you and help facilitate that. Can I just say a quick thank you, I think, to the speakers, Michelle Wade, Dr. Senthil Ganesh, Vikram Kirti, Raji Iyer, and Dr. Venki Subramanian for sharing that. I mean, in short, such a short period, but I think that was great information and a lot for companies to learn from and to then connect on further. And I think that's the idea. Victorian Government Trade and Investment Office, Vidyanand Sagaram and Gopi Shankar, who have supported us in running this, and as well as to have Raji and Dr. Venki speak at this session. CII Coimbatore Zone, Shivek and Vinod. Guidance Tamil Nadu, Paul, Arun, and Sriram Krishnamurthy, and the Indo-Australian Chamber of Commerce team, that's Aditya, Rubin, and Shivendu. Thanks very much, for your support. Michelle, do you want to take a minute to wind up with any last comments?
Thanks, Petula. I was just writing back to one of the questions that we had that said, how about a LinkedIn group? Now, I can guarantee you that both Petula and I are pretty active on LinkedIn. You heard Raji say join her as well on LinkedIn, but from a Victoria and Australia business relationship, you'll certainly get a good view on what's happening if you follow us there. And we're really looking forward to coming back to Coimbatore. As I mentioned, you've got a great reputation as entrepreneurs. The presentation that we had really reflected that as well. And thank you so much for all your presentation. I hope we've been able to help you understand the possibilities of collaborating with the state of Victoria.
Thanks very much, Michelle. Thanks everyone for joining us, and have a great day. Bye. Bye.